Good day, everyone. Thank you for your patience. I see that many attendees have now joined, and we will begin with the webinar. So to introduce myself, I am Dr. Terence Scott from the Global Alliance for Rabies Control. And the Global Alliance has partnered with the International Vet Students Association to create this rabies awareness competition, which I'll be presenting to you for the first time today. Just a few housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded. So we will share the link of the recorded webinar on YouTube and on our respective websites as soon as it is ready. And we will share the information that is gathered and described to you over this webinar in an email following the end of this webinar sometime in this coming week. Yeah, so I think if we're ready to start, I'm going to present to you on the rabies awareness competition. So just to give a very brief introduction on rabies. So what is rabies? Many of you may not be familiar with it. I know in a lot of universities around the world and a lot of veterinary training colleges, rabies is not a topic that is covered in great detail, and many professionals working in the veterinary profession are not aware of the finer details about rabies. So I'm going to give you a very brief overview. So just before we start, I'd just like to encourage everyone to please post your questions in the question box at any time throughout the webinar. So if you have any questions about the contents or any ideas or things that you would like to have discussed, we will have quite a bit of time after the presentation where I will then address the questions that you ask. So please, at any time, post your questions in the question box and we'll try to get to as many as possible in the time that we have available. So what is rabies? So rabies is a fatal encephalitic viral disease. So it affects the nervous system and the brain. It is a zoonosis, which is transmitted through the saliva of an infected animal, typically through a bite, but also can be through a scratch. And we know that it is a neglected tropical disease, and it is listed as an official neglected tropical disease with the World Health Organization and is being included in the Neglected Tropical Diseases Roadmap for 2020. So rabies elimination is a priority in many countries. It is being initiated in many countries, and there are plans and strategies in place in many countries. And this has all aligned with the development of a global goal of 0 by 30, or for the elimination of dog-mediated human rabies cases by the year 2030. And the global community is therefore striving to work towards this goal, working with national governments and different stakeholders and partners so that we can achieve human rabies elimination from dog-mediated rabies by the year 2030. So many of you might be asking why we need to end rabies and why do we have this goal of 2030 and why is there this urgency about it? So to give you a bit of background about the disease, so a person dies every 9 minutes from rabies. This is from dog-mediated rabies. But the issue is that this is 100% preventable. So every single human rabies case from a dog bite is entirely preventable through post-exposure prophylaxis and also the vaccination of your dogs. We also know that nearly 85% of the entire world's population is at risk of contracting dog-mediated rabies. And 95% of those deaths, of human rabies deaths, occur in Africa and Asia. And as we know, domestic dogs cause over 99% of human rabies deaths globally, with very few number of cases occurring from bats in the Americas. But most importantly, by vaccinating 70% of dogs in at-risk countries, we can eliminate rabies. So we can eliminate dog-mediated human rabies and we can eliminate dog rabies by vaccinating 70% of the at-risk dog population. So with all those figures, we know that it's an estimated 59,000 people that die every single year due to dog-mediated rabies. And the saddest thing is that we know that this disease is preventable. We know how to prevent this disease, but we need to take action. And that is why we have the global community and different partners have developed this global strategic plan, of which the Global Alliance for Rabies Control was integral in developing it. So we know that rabies doesn't have to be this way, and that together, by working together in the One Health approach, we can end rabies for good. So now that I've given you a little bit of background about rabies, I'm going to obviously give you a bit of details about the competition. So the Global Alliance for Rabies Control is the leading rabies nonprofit organization that supports national and community-led rabies elimination efforts by providing specialized tools, expert advice, and technical assistance, primarily to national governments. So the idea behind the Global Alliance for Rabies Control is that we work in a government-centric manner, ensuring that it's a sustainable approach to rabies elimination. And we have then partnered with the International Veterinary Students Association, Standing Committee on One Health, and the committee wants to motivate member organizations and individuals to establish projects and events that will help to educate people to join the fight against rabies. So we have a joint vision to promote and drive rabies elimination activities in line with the 0 by 30 goal, and especially considering the One Health nature of rabies and the need for a One Health approach to achieve rabies elimination. So therefore, GARC and the IVSA Standing Committee on One Health have partnered together to deliver this competition to you. So this competition is open to IVSA member organizations only. So this is the IVSA specific competition. And the competition is based around World Rabies Day. So if you're not familiar with World Rabies Day was a day established in 2007 by the Global Alliance for Rabies Control and its partners. And this day is to celebrate global rabies awareness and advocate for rabies elimination. So as I mentioned, it's celebrated every year on September 28th, which is the anniversary of the death of Louis Pasteur. Of course, many of you may know that Louis Pasteur was the person who invented the first rabies vaccine and successfully vaccinated the first child against rabies using rabbits and nervous tissue. So World Rabies Day really focuses on awareness for rabies and advocating for rabies control and elimination. So 2021 will be the 15th World Rabies Day. And the idea is about World Rabies Day really is to celebrate individuals and organizations, to really highlight those champions around the world who are doing excellent work in the fight against rabies. And 2021 will focus specifically on the next generation of rabies champions, which are the students. And that is where this competition really comes to the fore. So why this competition? Well, we want to raise rabies awareness through World Rabies Day, as I mentioned, and we want to really build youth capacity. So we want to ensure that the youth and the next generation of rabies champions are well trained and well educated about the disease so that they can take over and they can continue the efforts to really drive and achieve rabies elimination by the goal of 2030. And of course, beyond that, to dog rabies elimination. So we also want to encourage sustainability, and that again comes in with the development of youth capacity. And as I mentioned, to foster the next generation of rabies champions. Importantly, though, it's also a competition which will help to kickstart efforts in local communities. So by doing these small projects in local communities, the idea would be to generate interest, generate awareness, and also then kickstart larger projects that may build off the projects that you develop for your community. And of course, there's the opportunity to implement your great ideas. So if you have a fantastic idea or something that you've always wanted to try, or that something that you think would be particularly effective in your community, now is the chance to really implement your idea and see whether it is successful, first of all. And of course, if it is successful, the global community can learn from this, and you may see your idea being developed and being implemented in all the rabies endemic countries around the world. So it is something that's really exciting and something that can be not just a local setting project on a small scale, but something that really could be taken to the global level. So to give you a few details about the competition. So the competition will consist of 3 phases. And the first phase will be the submission of your proposals, and then the selection of the shortlisted member organizations. The second phase will be where the shortlisted member organizations will be able to implement their projects, and the shortlisted member organizations will receive a small prize, and with this prize money, they'll be able to implement their projects in their community. Of course, we encourage that the member organizations and the shortlisted participants also raise their own funds to give them an additional booster, but that is not essential. And the prize money for being shortlisted will enable you to implement your project in your community. These shortlisted member organizations will run their project for a period of time, which then leads to phase 3, which will be where the grand prize winner is selected. And that will be on World Rabies Day 2021. And importantly, phase 3 isn't just the selection of a grand prize winner of the most practical and best implemented project, but the grand prize winner will receive additional funds to then continue and potentially expand their project within their community and possibly to other areas surrounding their local community. So they'll really get the chance to really expand upon and develop their project further for an additional period of time. And of course, all the different shortlisted member organizations, as well as the grand prize winner, will receive a lot of global attention through both the IVSA Standing Committee on One Health and the Global Alliance for Rabies Control, through social media and newsletter articles and web articles too. So there will be a lot of attention and a lot of media and a lot of awareness around these different projects. So again, I think it really is a great opportunity and something to get excited about. So what are we looking for in this competition? Now I'll get to the more technical details. So I've listed it as the 4 I's. So innovation, inspiration, impact, and implementation. So those are the 4 I's. And if we look at innovation, we want to see something that is new. We don't want to see the same old project that's been implemented all around the world, just in your local community. We don't expect you to come up with something that is completely new that no one has ever heard of, because we understand that many things have been done and that would be extremely challenging. If you do manage that, then fantastic. But we are looking for at least a revitalization of an idea, or a slight twist on a concept that has already been done. Putting a slight twist or a little bit of change on it to make it your own and to make it a bit more unique. Especially for your setting. So if we see something that is truly customized for your setting, that really addresses the specific needs of your community, then that would really score high on the innovation. In terms of inspiration, we're looking for something that will get the community working with you. So this should never be a project only about the member organization and the students who are part of that team going into a community and doing the work. We want the community to get involved with you. We want the community to be inspired, and we want something that inspires others to then do the same. So we want people to see your project, go, wow, go out and they want to then replicate your project because it really inspires them. We want something, of course, that has impact. So we want projects that make a difference. This can be either through education, vaccination, awareness, or any other way that you can think of. And again, that leads into the inspiration. So, even if you don't want to go out and vaccinate dogs in the field, there are many different other projects that you can do and many other ways where you can have an impact on rabies elimination. And of course, the last I is implementation. And this is a bit more of the boring part, but the project must be realistic. We don't want to see that a project with a budget of $300 is now going to eliminate rabies globally. It must be realistic, and you must be able to implement it in a chosen community. So we don't want to see that you're traveling to some beach holiday destination to go do your project. It must be in your community, in an area where you can go to implement that project. If you live on an island, then lucky you, then you can have the beach holiday. But as long as you're able to implement this project, we want something that is realistic. And to keep in mind, you must then consider the availability of funds. So the shortlisted member organizations for the second phase of the project will receive a $300 prize money, and that will then go towards the implementation of your project. Of course, as I mentioned, if you're able to raise additional funds yourself, that is absolutely fantastic, and we hope that you are able to do that so that you can increase your budget and build a project that is a bit more large scale or a bit more impactful. So to give you a bit of ideas for inspiration, these have been some World Rabies Day events that have been listed over the years. And we've seen all sorts of different events. We've seen things like dog shows, dog walks. If you think about those sorts of projects or those sorts of events, they aren't necessarily about rabies specifically, but having a dog show raises awareness and promotes responsible dog ownership. And that is critical for rabies elimination. So you'll see that many of these events and many of the projects that you may have ideas for don't necessarily have to be mass dog vaccination, which is to eliminate rabies. It can be other ways to implement things so that it leads to better practice and towards rabies elimination. So things like responsible dog ownership. We've seen education events with children. We've seen fun runs and triathlons being hosted to raise money and awareness about the disease. There are posters and social media events. We have online quiz nights, radio interviews, marches through the city, where you can then raise awareness about the disease also. You can have creative writing contests. You can paint a community mural about rabies awareness and potentially ways to prevent the disease, and many, many more different event ideas. So you can do online gaming events even, to raise awareness and get a celebrity or a well-known individual in the community or in your country to participate in an event and really raise awareness by reaching more people. So again, considering the restrictions with COVID and the global pandemic, and I know that many countries may still be in lockdown, even in January and the early parts of next year, and therefore your event does not need to be an in-person event. It does not have to have physical contacts. We do accept digital events. As I mentioned, you can have online quiz nights or education, having stories or webinars. You can have anything that you can think of, and this is where we want your inspiration to get these new ideas and to really see new things being done. So don't be shy about your idea. Think about online events. Take into account the potential for lockdown in your country, and think about an event that would really make an impact towards rabies elimination. So now for the technical details about the proposal. So again, I will share this presentation, and it is being recorded and will be shared with you online. So you will have all these details and you can take notes from the presentation recording. But the following criteria must be clearly presented in your proposal. And that is creativity, or the innovation aspect, the details of the project. So we don't want to see something that says we are going to march through the city. That is not enough detail for us to really judge whether it will have an impact and whether it is innovative. So we want details. We want to know exactly how you're going to do it, what you're going to do, and how this then relates to rabies elimination. We want to see feasibility, so implementation, and of course then the impact of the project. So your expected outcomes, the expected impact, the expected reach of your project. Again, the more detail and the more precise information that you could provide, the easier it is for us to decide on your project. So if we see a project that is very vague and very general, it is most likely not even going to make it into the list, into the pile to be considered. But if we see something with a lot of detail and effort has been put into this proposal, we'll then immediately flag that for consideration for the shortlist. So we also want to see, as I said, practicality in terms of implementation. And importantly, we need to see a budget for your project. So as I said, the shortlisted member organizations will receive a prize money of $300 US. So the budget should be based on that prize money and potentially what other funding you will be able to raise. And we want to see how that money is going to be spent to make sure that this project really is feasible. So the proposal guidelines, the proposal must be no longer than 10 A4 pages in length, including the budget. The font size, again, I'm not going to linger on this too much, but standardized font size, and the proposal must be written in English. You will not be marked down if you're not a first language English speaker. We understand that not everyone is a first language English speaker. And if the English is not perfect, that is not a problem. You will not be marked down based on your English, but we do need the proposals to be written in English, please. We would encourage you to have it checked by someone who maybe is a bit more fluent in English or is a native English speaker before sending it to us, just to make it easier and to make sure that there is no misinterpretation between the people who are reviewing the projects and yourself. But as I said, again, you will not be marked down, or there will be no negative effect if you're not a first language English speaker and your English is not perfect. That is not a problem. We do allow some appendices for supporting documentation, such as the formal agreements. If you have formal agreements in terms of additional funding, if you have communications with, for instance, your community leaders, your village elders, any person like that, who you'd need to get permission from to run this project. And please remember that you need to get permission from your community leaders before implementing a project in your community. So if you want to march through the city and host a rabies awareness rally, you need to get permission from the mayor's office or the local police force to ensure that this is a legal rally, as an example. So a list of the important dates. So the 10th of January 2021, you must submit your proposals. So that is the deadline for proposal submissions. The shortlist will then be announced on the 31st of January, and that is when the shortlisted member organizations, one from each region, will be selected. Those shortlisted member organizations will be informed, and their projects will then begin, and they will then need to submit their final project reports by the 17th of August 2021, on which they will then be marked and considered for the grand prize. The grand prize winner will then be announced on the 28th of September 2021 on World Rabies Day. So contact information, please. If you have any additional questions after this webinar, feel free to reach out to us. You can ask any questions about the project itself from the Standing Committee on One Health at ivsa.org. You will be able to register your participation or your member organization in this in a Google Forms by following this link. And for any additional rabies information, or if you have any questions about rabies itself, about World Rabies Day, or anything else rabies related, please contact us. Visit our website at rabieslions.org. And for World Rabies Day specific information, you can go to worldrabiesday.org. Thank you very much for your attention, and we'll then start addressing some of the questions. So again, if you do have questions, please post them in the questions or in the chat box, and I'll then look through them now and see whether we can address as many as possible. So I'll leave a few minutes for people to post any questions. Okay, our first question is this for individuals or member organizations only, from Ellison? So this competition is for people as part of the International Vet Students Association. We encourage that people do create teams within their member organization and submit their proposals through their own member organization. But the team size is irrelevant. So it can be a team of one person. But as I said, we do encourage people to submit their proposals through their member organization, and with their general consent. But we are happy to accept individual proposals also. I think that also answers the next question. How, as individual, can we participate? Again, you will need to please submit your proposals through your own member organization in your country, and we would then receive that from the member organization, remembering that we will shortlist one member organization from each region for the shortlisted member organizations to drive their first project. So Anna asks, so should the project be held by the whole IVSA chapter and not just a few people? As I said, yes, you are welcome to submit a proposal as just a few people, but it should be submitted through your IVSA chapter, yes. So preferably, if there are multiple teams from a single chapter, we would encourage those teams to discuss and sit among themselves to determine which project is the best and most feasible, and which one that chapter would then like to go ahead with, and then submit it through one project per chapter. Of course, because that will make your project stronger, because you'll have more of a team behind you, and you'll be able to implement your project better because you have a greater workforce. And more people to raise funds and raise awareness about your project. Of course, if you wish to submit your own proposal, you're welcome to do so, but we encourage you to do so through your IVSA chapter. Okay, so the next question is, can we at the same time nominate ourselves or our organization for World Rabies Award 2? So this project is specifically for the IVSA, of course, and you're welcome them to submit a World Rabies Day Award competition nomination also, if you wish. But we have not yet confirmed whether there will be or what the World Rabies Day Awards and the different criteria will be as of yet, as we're working on the World Rabies Day theme still, and that will be announced early next year. But you are welcome to register for this project, and also if there are World Rabies Day Awards next year, then you're welcome to nominate yourselves for the World Rabies Day Awards also. Haley Rock asks, what is a member organization in the US? I believe that is a chapter, but I can hand that over to Mutiat to maybe answer that question. Mutiat? Sorry, Mutiat, if you could unmute yourself and potentially answer that question. Okay, it seems Mutiat has answered that in the chat. So the YouTube channel name where this webinar will be posted, that will be on the World Rabies Day YouTube channel. And also, as I said, the link will be shared with you in an email following in this coming week. We'll also have details available on the GARC website, as well as on the IVSA website. The next channel is the next question, is can we do more than one project? And what about our previous efforts regarding rabies that can be included? If you have previous efforts on rabies control and elimination, you're welcome to build on those efforts with this project. Of course, if you have something in place and you can build upon that and implement something and, expand upon that, then that is fantastic. And that will all be part of your proposal. You will not be marked as better than others if you have started a project. So if you have never done a rabies project, you will not be starting at a deficit. But we welcome building on projects, starting new projects. We're looking for new ideas and innovation, as I mentioned. So if you believe that is innovative and impactful, then we welcome any project. You can do more than one project, but I think considering the funds and the implementation of the project, I personally believe that would be difficult. But if you make a strong enough case, you're welcome to do more than one project too. Okay, we have another question. How can we submit it through the AVMA if we're not a part of it? Mutiat, if you could please answer that question for me. Okay, another question is, I did a PhD in rabies and have MPH and PG diploma, One Health. That's a way to volunteer, so thank you. You can get in contact with us at rabiesalliance.org and just send us an email. So Giraj, thank you. The YouTube channel name, please, is World Rabies Day. And can collaborations with different organizations will give us an edge? That depends on what the collaboration is. Of course, we encourage collaboration. So if you have other partners that can strengthen your proposal and strengthen your project, we welcome that. And yes, of course, if you do have that will provide you an edge just in terms of the collaboration and the impact that you may have. And of course, as I mentioned, we welcome and we encourage you to do your own fundraising too. We understand that it is challenging times, so that is not a criteria for your project. But of course, if you are able to raise additional funds, then that makes the implementation and the feasibility of your project and the impact far greater. Okay, we'll wait a few more minutes to see if there are any other questions. But otherwise, we'll send you a follow-up email this week with the link to this recorded webinar and any other details, the links to the registration of the registration form for the competition, and additional details about the competition to you. Okay, we have a question. Does the rabies virus come in milk? So there have been some documented cases of rabies in milk, but this is not, it has not been confirmed, and it is not generally transmitted through milk. So that is unlikely. It is a very unlikely means of transmission. According to the WHO guidelines and recommendations, milk is not a risk for rabies, and therefore there should be no concern. There's another question. If we are doing this online, then how can we include a budget in it? Well, of course, the budget must include, if you're doing something online, you need to host, as an example, a webinar. You would need to have hosting with that webinar, so registration with a business account with Zoom, for example. That would cost money. Your own time, if you're asking a celebrity to participate, then you still need a budget for that. You still need to include the different costs. If you're creating a website, you need to create a domain and have people design and develop your website for you. All of those things have costs associated with it. So you must please include everything in your budget with clear outlines on what that includes. So unfortunately, everything costs money. So there is always a budget for everything. Okay, we'll wait a few more minutes for any last questions. If your question has not been answered, please just send it again in case I missed it. I didn't miss it on purpose. I just may have missed it scrolling through the different questions. Okay, it seems like that's everything. Of course, if you have any additional questions, if you think of something in the coming days, you're welcome to send an email to us. And we will then reply and contact and reply with any further information that you're looking for. Please remember to share this with your other friends, if your other colleagues at the IVSA chapters or the IVSA member organizations around the world. So if you know that there was an organization that wasn't participating, please share this with them. We want as many people participating as possible. And we hope to see some really fantastic ideas coming through. I see, sorry, there are a few more questions coming through. Is there a problem when our budget is more than $300? No, that is not a problem, but you would then need to justify where you're getting the additional funding from. So if your budget is more than $300, then you would need to show some sort of agreement or some sort of collaboration with a partner, or potentially demonstrate some sort of fundraising event where you will then be able to raise the funds to then supplement this budget. Another question, are there any deadlines? I missed if you announced. I'll go back in the presentation. These are the important dates for you to see. So the 10th of January is for the submission of your proposal. The 31st of January, the shortlist will be announced. The 17th of August, the shortlisted teams will submit their reports. and the 28th of September, or World Rabies Day, the grand prize winner will be announced. So the most important date for now is the 10th of January, which is the deadline for the submission of your proposals.
Hey, hello, this is Mutiat. I think there was a question about the submission of the entries that I was supposed to answer. I was having some problems with my laptop. Yeah, so the proposals should be sent to sco@ivsa.org. That's the official email for IVSA SCOH. So like when you register through the registration link, then you send your proposals to the official IVSA email, which is sco@ivsa.org. Thank you.
Okay, we have another question. So how to educate people who have human resources who still lack knowledge of the dangers of rabies? So that is one question that we're asking you is to innovate on how to educate people. The Global Alliance for Rabies Control has a lot of resources available free on our website. You're welcome to download them and use them for your own campaign. So we have these resources available. We have free online courses where you get a certificate, and those courses are for educating the general public, for community members, and for professionals, so other veterinarians or people working in the human health sector. We have courses specific for all of those people, and you are certified at the end of the course. And they're globally recognized courses, and you can use these courses or any other resources available to you for your own projects. So you're welcome to look through our websites. You can look through the other resources that are available online and use any of those resources for your own projects or for your own implementation. And again, I'd encourage you to visit the World Rabies Day page on the GARC website to get more ideas of events that have occurred over the last few years. You can look at different events that have occurred in your own country to get some ideas on projects that you may be able to do yourself. Okay, we've got just 2 more minutes left before we'll close the webinar. So you're welcome to log off if you don't have any more questions, and we'll be in contact with you sometime this week. So thank you very much for your participation, and we look forward to receiving your project proposals.
Thank you very much, Terence, Dr. Terence. Thank you very much, everybody at the GARC for hosting this webinar with us, and also for having this collaboration with us. Thank you, everyone, for attending as well. We look forward to receiving your proposals, and good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, and have a good rest of your day or evening wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye.